I was very curious to see how close AI could get a Figma design to a WordPress site. And I asked it to recreate a homepage hero section with a loop grid and tested 3 different MCP tools: the Block MCP from GravityKit, NovaMira MCP, and UnblockWP MCP. My goal was simple. I wanted to see which tool got the closest to the original Figma design, which one creates the cleanest WordPress result, and which one would I actually use for real work. After testing all 3, I realized there are really 2 different winners. One for practical WordPress work and one for visual accuracy. So this is my main setup that I used. I used Codeex to talk to the different MCPs, and this was the design I want to recreate. As you can see, it has a loop grid, also has a relationship field, but I asked it not to use the custom post types. I just wanted to see how well can these tools recreate a Figma design in WordPress Gutenberg. What I actually was looking for is how close could it get to Figma design? Was the output in Gutenberg clean? How much manual cleanup needed to be done? Could it handle the different styling and hover effects? And would I use it for real work? And the first one that I used was the Block MCP. It felt very focused around the WordPress editor. It's interesting if you want to stay inside of the Gutenberg, and it felt really Gutenberg native. If you look at how it created everything, it is really using the Gutenberg blocks. So this is a very good thing to start out with, right? But also felt very limiting compared to the other tools. In my test, it mostly worked on this page itself. The color accuracy is not very good. I need to adjust it in the Figma file. If you see, there's a gradient right here, and it didn't reproduce that. Secondly, the colors are set locally instead of using the theme.json, which is kind of a downer. Even though it got very close to the Figma design, it still lacked a few things that NovaMira and UnblockWP definitely did do. For me, Block MCP is very useful if your priority is working with Gutenberg blocks, but for this specific Figma to WordPress test, it wasn't the closest result. The next tool that I tested was NovaMira MCP. And NovaMira surprised me the most. It was fast. In 30 minutes, it had a lot of things done. It did a very good job in really creating Figma design. The Gutenberg output is also very clean and also reusable because it used the home template for the header and it uses a tools grid pattern so that we can reuse it on different pages. And that's not the only thing. It can do way more than just editing the page. It can adjust the theme settings, it can install plugins, create custom post types, and surprisingly, it can use the bindings block API. If we look at these page builders, we see that there are some attributes here on the right-hand side, which is the block bindings API. And it connects to the meta fields that are available inside of WordPress. And in this specific test, it created the Figma file and all the connections properly. And it's using the free version, which was very surprising and impressive to me. And if we look at the design, there's a few changes that I would make, and that's really it. But it's not all good, right? It's still using Gutenberg, and Gutenberg is just limiting. Some settings, some CSS stylings that you would like to add do not exist in default Gutenberg options. So for those details, you still need some CSS. So overall, NovaMira feels the most ready for real WordPress work. It is fast, it creates clean Gutenberg output, and can handle more of the actual WordPress setup around the page. So more of the WordPress site setup. And that leaves me only to the last tool, UnblockWP, using the MCP of it. To me, it gave the best visual result because it could use HTML and CSS, so it's a little bit of cheating, so that it gave it more freedom than default blocks. It could add the hover effects. And if we look at the page itself, it can use HTML and CSS. It adds the styling inside of here, so it can create a more visual design that's closer to Figma, but the width of the whole thing wasn't accurate. It couldn't add the image of the person because it's not something that's available. And in first try, there were some things that weren't that great. However, the output is closer to HTML CSS than Gutenberg, and we need to keep in mind that this is still in beta. So I would not use it for production work yet, but it's very promising. To me, UnblockWP was the visual winner. Because it can use HTML and CSS, it got closer to the Figma design, especially with the hover effect. But because it's still in beta, I would see it as a promising rather than production ready. My personal biggest lesson is that AI can now get you surprisingly far, but it does not remove the need for a WordPress developer. It gets you the first version faster, but the final details still matter a lot. So, can AI turn a Figma design into a WordPress site? Yes, but not perfectly yet. For me, NovaMira is the tool I would trust most for real work today, because it creates clean Gutenberg output and can do more WordPress tasks beyond just building the pages. UnblockWP got the closest visually because HTML and CSS gave it more control, especially for the hover effects. But I would still treat it as a beta, so would not use it in production yet. UnblockWP MCP is useful and interesting, but in this test, it was more limited. So this is my final takeaway. AI is not replacing the human WordPress builder yet, but it's getting very good at creating the first draft. And that alone can save a lot of time. Let me know in the comments below, would you rather have the cleanest Gutenberg output or the closest visual match to the Figma design? Thank you for watching, and as always, keep designing.